Hi wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build this fairy tale style boot cottage. This whimsical build looks just like a house built right into a giant's boot. And it has plenty of space, making it a really fun option for a survival base or a wonderful place to decorate in a creative world. Inspired by the classic fairy tale of the woman who lived in the shoe by Mother Goose, I'll be showing you step by step how to create this build so you can be the Minecraft player who lived in the shoe. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. If you're having trouble getting any of these supplies, leave a comment and I'd be happy to offer some substitutions. Here is the outline for the base of this build. You can see it's quite an unusual shape because we're creating a unique shaped build. The kind of oval shape there is the boot, and I recommend starting in one corner there and following along the outline, counting the alternating color blocks to place in an outline of your own. I'm using concrete, but you can use whatever supply you like. Marked in there in the darker concrete powder, you can see the location of a few of the posts, the chimney, and where this stair hits the ground. The posts are sitting 4 blocks away from those longer walls of the boot. The chimney is just those 2 blocks there, and then the stair is sitting 3 blocks out from the end of the boot. I'm going to start by creating an outline around the whole boot using some barrels. I'm going to start on this front 11 long side here, placing in 3 barrels, then I'll leave a gap, place in another 3, leave a gap, and place in the last 3. Then for these 2 gaps, I'm going to place in some temporary blocks, dig below here and place in a barrel upside down, so that way we've got this bottom texture showing underneath our windows. And I'll fill back in the ground, so it'll look like this. Next I'll go around the toe, all the way around like this. There we go, and now onto this back 11 long wall. We only have 1 window here, so I'll build in 5 from each side. And this should leave me with a 1 block gap in the center where I'll add in an upside down barrel. Finally, we need to go around the heel of the boot. And our outline will look like this. Next, I'm going to replace all of the floor in here with some stripped dark oak logs. So I'm going to be placing these running kind of horizontal to the build, just in a floorboard texture. But if you wanted to add some extra interest down here, you could have these alternating in different directions like this, and this will create a sort of herringbone pattern. I'll just do a little bit to show you how it would look. So this section is going to come over this way. We're going to have some here. And you can see it creates a really nice pattern. So it's up to you, but I like the way we have these large floorboards with the stripped dark oak logs, and I'm going to go ahead and fill all of this in. Just filling in the last section of the floor now, and then we're going to start work on the walls. I'm also going to place in a few torches here because the walls are going to wrap right over the top of the boot, creating a roof, and we don't want mobs spawning. So to start on these walls, I'm going to place in some white stained glass panes on top of the upside down barrels. That's where we have our 3 windows for this level. I'm going to work on these 2 11 long sides first. And since this build is symmetrical, everything I do on one side, I'm going to repeat on the other. We'll be using brown terracotta to build our boot. I'm going to start by building 2 blocks in at this end and then coming up over the top of the window, and I'm going to build up this 2 high height till 1 over from the end of the window. So let's do this on this side. So we've got 2 and then 2 high height all the way over. And for this side, I just want to line it up with the front of the boot, so it should finish 2 blocks before the end of the curve here. Okay, next wall, I'm going to come to the front of the boot, and I'm going to place in 5 blocks across here and then 3 blocks on top of that. Next, I'm going to come to this 2 block section here, and I'll build across 2. Then we'll come up and come back 3 like this. And then we'll come up and build all the way to the end of where we already have the brown terracotta. And again on the other side. So 2, up and 3, up and all the way back. Then we need to curve over the top of this shape. So I'm going to use a temporary block on either side to place in one here, and then we'll have 3 more blocks across the top. Just like this. Next, I'm going to connect up these 2 sections with a little L shape and one over here. So we're going across 2 and then back a total of 3, and it should all connect up like that. I'm going to place in a temporary block here. That way I'm building the next level up, and I'll place in 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll fill in the rest of this level going towards the front. Just like that. Then in the center, I'm going to add in an additional temporary block so I can count back 3 and then 1 to either side of that. And I can remove this block. And I'm going to fill in this little square and then come back 2 as well on either side. There we go. Next, we need to come up like this on either side and add 1 in the center. So here's how it should look. Now I am going to fill in with this 1 block gap back here because it'll create a smoother wall inside. And next we're going to work on this back section of the boot. So I'm going to build 3 blocks back here, then I'm going to create a little corner shape, and then I'll place 3 along the very back. And do this in reverse, so corner shape and then 3. It should overlap 1 block there. For the next layer, we're going to come 4 blocks back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll add blocks on top of here, and then just on either side, so leaving the very center clear. I'm going to add in a temporary block so that I can add in some blocks coming back 2 high here, and then I'm going to come out to either side on the next layer for another 2 blocks. So it'll look like this. We're going to need to curve up on either side to fill in this gap. Then we'll place in a block in each corner, there and there. And then we need to add 4 more blocks on top of here. Here's how it's looking. Next, we're just going to focus on this front sort of side wall and the back sort of side wall. I'm going to build 5 across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'll build 4 going towards the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll then add 2 more layers just on these 3 blocks. So it kind of swoops up towards the back of the shoe. Let's do that on the other side as well. So 5 first, then 4 and 4, and 3 and 3. Next, let's work on filling on this front section. So I'm going to start by building up 3 high over here, 1, 2, 3, and 3 high over here, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to come in another block, building up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this should bring us level with the tops of those 2 side sections, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll connect these up. Then we just need to add in 2 more blocks to fill in this corner, and 2 over this side. Finally, for the shape of the boot itself, we need to fill in these back sections. So I'm going to start by building up 3 high on top of these 2 sides. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to build up to the whole height of this boot. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 over to the side. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 to the side. For this final section, we have a 2 high window in the center, so I'll place in 2 white stained glass and then just surround that with some more of my brown terracotta. Let's have a look at this boot from all the different angles. And you want to check that your boot is symmetrical here. And from above, you can see we've got a sort of uneven oval shape. We need to add some details next to make this look a bit more like a boot, including some laces. So let's start with that. I'm going to begin by placing a spruce trapdoor on top of here with stairs on either side. And then I'm going to place in 2 more trapdoors wrapping around the shape. I'm going to leave a block gap and add in some more trapdoors and 3 slabs. Then 2 more trapdoors on this side. And you want to make sure all of your trapdoors are running in the same direction. For the next layer, I'll leave another gap. Again, we've got 3 slabs here, and finish off with some more trapdoors. And then finally, we're having a 1 more gap, trapdoor, trapdoor, slab, trapdoor, and trapdoor. There we go. Now at the end of the boot, I'm going to place in 3 dark oak signs along these barrels, just blank, although you could add some decoration here if you wanted. And while we're down here, let's decorate these lower story windows. So underneath the window, we're going to place in a dark oak stair with a slab to either side. I'm going to add a pot in front of the window, and then we've got some birch trapdoors. And then for the top, we're going to place a stair at the back with 2 slabs coming forward, one directly placed onto the stair and one below. And then we have 2 stairs to either side to create a sort of point. So it should look like this. And I'm going to repeat this same design on the window beside here, as well as the window on the back. Trapdoor, trapdoor, and a flower pot. One thing that's important to keep in mind to have a really clean looking build when it's finished is that you make sure all of the trapdoors for these window shutters are facing the same direction. So if you have a look at the birch trapdoor where we have this handle, you either want to make sure they're all facing up like this or all facing down. It doesn't look quite as good when they're all different. Next, I've come inside the build and I've removed all my temporary lighting so I can add in some more decorative lighting. I'm going to start up this end and count in 3 blocks in the center and add in a lantern on this 4th block. Then I'll count 4 blocks across, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and hang a lantern from here. Next, I'm going to place in 3 brown terracotta, creating a sort of T shape here, and this is going to give me a nice outline for filling in the floor of this next story. I'm using some stripped dark oak logs, placed 1 block below this window, and I'm running them in the opposite direction to the floor below. Before I finish filling this in, I am going to add my ladders coming up this side, and then I can fill in all the way around that. I want to make sure I leave no gaps. So if I went to here, you can see the floor looks complete on this section from above, but there is a hole underneath. So let's make sure we fill all of that in. Almost there. And there we go. I'm going to count 4 blocks along again in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, and place in a lantern. And there should be 3 blocks left at the end, so it's all even. Let's head back outside the build now to work on the next level. So I'm going to come to the back of the build and I'm grabbing out some stripped dark oak logs. With these, I'm going to be building up on these 2 posts. So you should see that there is a 7 block gap, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 between these 2 posts, and they are centered on the back of the boot. They're sitting 1 block out from the end here where it hits the ground, and there's 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4 between the post and this 11 long section. So I'll start by building up to the top of the boot with these logs and then go past by 1. Just like that. Now I'm going to connect these up. And I'm going to have logs coming out from either side of these logs here, as well as in the center. Just like that. Next, I'm going to be taking some more of these logs and level with the bottom of this window here, I'm going to be placing in 2 from either side. So you should end up with a 3 block gap between this beam and this beam. And I'm going to be having some logs coming out from either side of this window now, as well as these 2 joins. I'm going to place in 2 dark oak slabs on either side, as well as a dark oak slab in the center. Then we're going to have some trapdoors coming up. And we're going to create an arch out of some stairs. So 2 upside down stairs, 2 right way up stairs, and then 1 upside down stair in the center. Let's also add in a flower pot here. Switching back over to our dark oak logs here, I'm going to be adding a dark oak log connecting up here, as well as a log coming out from this join and what would be a join on that side. Just like this. Then coming up to the top, I'm going to count across 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add in an extra one here with a log coming out to either side, just like this. And I'll do this on the other side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that extra block making it 6, and then we've got 2 like that. And I'll connect these up next. There we are. Next, along these 2 shorter sides, I'm going to add a log on every other block. And here as well. And let's grab some slabs next. I'm going to place one in between each of these gaps, as well as each of the gaps on this side. On this other side of the build, we have something a little bit different. So I'll add in a log in the center, so we should have 2 3-wide gaps on either side. Then I'm going to add an extra log here and surround it with dark oak stairs upside down on either side, and then a dark oak block or 2 slabs coming out this way. I'm going to place in 2 slabs to either side of that and 3 slabs across like this. So it should look like this from underneath and like a semicircle from above. I'm going to place in 3 more slabs on this side. Stepping back now, our build is starting to come together and we're creating a nice platform for the story above, but let's add in some more details. I'm going to start by placing a dark oak slab in the join underneath these 2 sides. Next, I'm going to take some grindstones and I'm placing one on top of each of these logs. I want to make sure that this dark oak section is facing outwards. And I'm going to place in a slab between this gap and this gap. I'll place in some spruce fences next, going up. And I'm also going to be placing some coming down. So I'll place one on this side and one on this side. Now on these posts at the base, we're going to add in a decorated pot coming out to each outer facing side. So I'm leaving this gap free and this gap free. I'm going to place in some grindstones upside down on these sections, again with the dark oak section facing out, and I'll place some spruce fences in between. Next, I'm going to place 1 spruce fence underneath these 2 logs. So from the back, here's how it's looking. We're ready to add in the floor on top of here next, so let's add in our ladder first. It's going to be directly beside this ladder coming up here. And in fact, now that I'm all the way up, I'm going to remove these 2 extra ladders just to make the ease of movement going between them a bit smoother. I'm going to add in my floorboards next, and these are just going level with the beams we've created, once again using the stripped dark oak logs, and I'm running these in the opposite direction to the floor below. I'm also going to creep back down into the story here and add in some lanterns. So I'm going to have them centered, coming in 1 block. So 1 here and 1 here with a 3-block gap between them. Next, I'm back up at the top of our boot to work on the next story. I'm going to begin by building up 5 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now along the 2 short sides, I'm going to be building up a post on every other block, so we should have 3 1-wide gaps. Then on the 2 longer sides, I'm going to just add in 1 extra post in the center, so there'll be 2 3-wide gaps. There we are. Next, let's connect all of these along the tops. If you're creating today's fairy tale style house, be sure to join my Discord server and share some pictures. I would love to see how it looks in your world. While I'm up here, I'm also going to add in a beam going across this way and then this way, and this is just going to add some details to the interior. I'm also going to go ahead and add in some extra logs coming out from the joins in each of the corner posts, as well as these 2 side posts. So not along these joins here and here. Next, we're going to start filling in these walls, starting with a base of bricks, mud brick and terracotta. I'm going to be placing these in a kind of random texturized pattern along the base of the build. Where we have this semicircle here, I'm going to leave a gap in the center of this panel. And then at the front of the build here, where we have the 2 windows on this side, I'm going to leave this center gap free. There we are. Next, I'm going to place in some windows. So along this back side, we're going to add a 2-high window with our white stained glass panes in the center of each of these panels. There we go. And then on the back, we're going to have one in the center, 2 high as well. And then on this side with the semicircle, we're going to add 1 window on this panel. Next, I'm going to go ahead and place in some warped doors. I'll be placing these while inside the build onto the block where we would have had the walls, so that way they open outwards and you can see that they are flush with that wall. And again on the front with my warped door. Next, we need to fill in all of these wall panels using a mixture of white wool, white concrete powder and calcite. We're just going for a texturized look here. It's up to you how much of each supply you use. And don't be afraid to break and change where you've got things placed until you get a look that you're happy with. If you're enjoying today's video and would like to access some additional benefits like world downloads for this or any of my other builds, as well as access to a multi-world server where you can build alongside me, check out my Patreon. I would love to have you join my community and I'd really appreciate your support. Before we continue our work at the top of our boot cottage, I'm going to add in the spiral staircase going up to this door. Let's start at the base of the build and work our way up. I'm going to start by placing a spruce stair on top of my first stair location. This should be lined up with the door above and it should be 3 blocks out from the build. I'll add in an upside down stair next and a slab coming to this side. Let's add a stair on top of that. And then we're going to need to add in another upside down stair and a slab to the side. We're just going to repeat this pattern. Stair, stair, slab, stair, stair, slab, and so on until we reach the top of this build. Almost at the very top, and when you find yourself almost at the top and lined up with this doorway, what we're going to do is add in an extra stair upside down like this, and then I'm going to add a slab directly on top of that. So let's take a look at this spiral staircase, and it's always a good idea to check that this staircase works. You shouldn't be bumping your head on anything. Let's see, and there we go, we got up to the top. Next, we need to add on some railing. I'm going to start this process by adding a temporary block on top of each of these upside down stairs. That'll make things a lot easier. Next, we're going to take some warped trapdoors, and we're going to be placing one on the side of the stair, then on either side of the temporary block, and then onto the stair again. And once again, I'm going to repeat this process until I reach the top. Almost there. And I'm going to add one on either side of this slab. Now I'm going to remove all of these temporary blocks and we need to add railing to the interior of the stair. So for this, I'm just going to be placing the trapdoors straight onto the stairs themselves. We should have one for each block layer going up. We're almost at the very top, and there we go. Here's how our staircase should look. Back up to the top of our build now. Let's add in the ladder to reach the attic space. I'm having it come up along this side wall. Then I'm going to fill in the rest of these gaps with some dark oak slabs. I'll also come below to this story and add in a few lanterns. Let's see, I think I'll have one here and one here. And back up we go. Now to add in these walls, I'm going to start by adding in an extra stripped dark oak log on top of these 3 posts on each side. Then I'm going to be using a mixture of my white materials to create a randomized texture on these walls. There we are. I'm also going to create a wall 1 layer on either side. Let's see. There we go, and on this side. There we go. I'm going to add a 1 high window out of white stained glass panes to the center of the front and the back, and then we need to create a point coming up around here. So I'm going to add 2 blocks to either side of this window. Let's see, a calcite, or let's actually do it this way. There we go. You can see I'm changing up and checking the texture as I go. Then we'll add 3 blocks on top of here next. And then 1 block in the center. Once again, I might take a step back and adjust this texture just a little bit. And let's see, let's put a wool here and then a white concrete powder at the top. I think that looks good. Okay, same thing on the other wall. There we go. Now before we can add in the roof, we need to create a chimney coming down this wall because that's going to jut into the roof itself. So I've come to the side where we have just 1 window on the back, and I'm going to place in a chiseled stone brick with a stone brick beside it, and you can see that's right at the end of this 11 wide section. I'm going to place 2 more stone brick coming up here with a couple of stone brick walls curving like this, and then we've got a couple of stone brick walls in front of that. Next we've got a stair upside down here with a wall on top of that, and another stair and a stair on top of that off to the side. I'll place in 3 stone brick walls going up to the top and 2 more walls underneath, so here's how it'll look. Then we'll come up to the very top of the roof, and I'm going to find this block here, which is one of the white material blocks that is next to the post towards the back of the build above this semicircle balcony. I'm going to place 2 stone brick on top with a stair and another stair coming out towards the other side. Then we'll add on another couple of stone bricks, and this is where we'll add our campfire and surround it with some spruce trapdoors. I'm also going to place a stone brick wall underneath this stair like that. Alright, I've taken a step back now so we can see how the chimney looks. So it joins up into this part of the house, and then it's going to poke out from the top of the roof. And now that we've got this chimney in, we're ready to add that roof in. We're going to start by creating an outline out of dark oak materials. So I'm going along either side with some dark oak stairs first, extending 1 out from the edge of each gable. Then I'm going to zigzag my way up like this on either side. So we're placing stairs upside down here, and this gives the build a more polished look. The other option is to place all the upside down stairs and then all the right way upstairs. You'll also notice that I've left the center free here, because in that center block we're going to place in 2 stripped dark oak logs coming out. Now on the top of here, we're going to add a stair with a upside down stair and a slab on either side. And then joining these 2 ends of the roof, we're going to alternate between dark oak planks and dark oak slabs. We should end up with the dark oak planks next to the stairs on either end. Next, I'm going to hang a couple of lanterns, and we're ready to fill in these roof panels using a mixture of brick stairs and mud brick stairs. I'm just placing these in following the outline created, and I want to go for a sort of randomized texture. It's up to you how many of each block you add in. And I find it best to put in a rough texturized look and then go back in once I've filled in the roof and make any adjustments. Make sure you're building right around the chimney and checking for any gaps. Let's see, I think I'll add a couple more up here. And maybe we'll move these blocks over a little bit as well. I think that looks pretty good. Over to the next side and we're going to do the same thing. In Creative, if you have ample resources, you might find it easiest to place in all of one material first, for example, these bricks like this, and then go ahead and add in your texture afterwards. So now that we've got a flat surface, I can go ahead and quickly add in those blocks. It's just about finding a system that works for you. And I think that looks pretty good. Next up, we need to add some decorations to our windows. Let's start on these two high windows. I'm going to be placing dark oak slabs across the bottom, and then we're going to create an archway over the top. So we're going to be placing in 2 warped slabs and then 2 warped stairs. So you can see that one of the slabs is in between the top level of the stairs and one is above. Then I'm going to use some birch trapdoors to create some window shutters, and I've got it placed so the handles are at the top and the bottom. I'll also add in a flower pot. I'm going to create the same decoration here on the back wall as well. And don't forget about the window around on this side. Next, we need to create a window decoration on these 2 small windows. So for this, we're going to use a dark oak stair with a slab on either side of that, and then a couple of trapdoors. I'll also place in a flower pot, and I'm going to hang a lantern off of these beams. For these gaps here, we're going to be creating a little decoration using a slab on either side and then a couple of trapdoors. And over on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Next up, I'm going to come around to our balcony and add in some railing, starting with the decorated pot on these 2 corners. Then I'm going to place in some warped fences here and here, and then we've got 3 warped fence gates. I'll also place in a couple of warped trapdoors, and this is going to bring the fence around, and then to finish it off, I'm going to place some dark oak trapdoors across the whole edge of the fence. It'll look like this. I'm also going to create a small canopy over the top of this doorway, so we're going to place in 3 dark oak stairs, then 3 dark oak trapdoors and 3 more placed onto the stairs, and now we've got 3 dark oak slabs. So it'll look like that, sloping downwards. The next detail we want to add is to mirror the designs that we've got going on around the base. So I've got some of these grindstones and we're going to hang them down like this with the dark oak section facing outwards from each of these beams. Almost all the way around. And one more, there we go. I'm going to place a decorated pot underneath each of these. Now, of course, on this side, we're not going to be able to place decorated pots in because we have the railing. And then wherever we have the decorated pots, I'm going to add in 2 spruce fences. On this side, where we have these 2 grindstones without decorated pots, I'm just going to be placing 1 spruce fence below that. Back around to the front of the build, I'm going to place in a couple more decorated pots on either side of the door with a spruce fence on top of that. And then we're going to create a little point with the warped slabs and stairs like we have over our windows. I'm also going to take some dark oak signs, and on the middle block of these white materials, I'm going to add in a blank dark oak sign like this, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing around here on the back, one here and one here. Taking a step back now, this build is looking really wonderful, but we have a few more finishing details to add to really bring it to life. Wow, so I've added in all of the finishing details and it has really brought this fairy tale to life. So let's check out what I've done. The first most obvious thing is that I've added in these draping leaves down the roof, off of some of the edges, around the staircase, and of course draping down the boot itself. I've also got them coming around the chimney, and adding these in gives the build a really lush feel and helps to add a little bit of bright green colour to the mostly neutral toned build. Continuing on this theme of greenery, I've added flowers to all of my pots, and I've stuck to a colour scheme of green, white, blue, and then if we come around here, I've got some teal as well to tie in with the warped wood. For the planting around my boot, I've stuck to neutral tones with all of these lovely wheat fields, and this means that the blue colours from the build really make it stand out. I've also kept the flower planting around here simple, with some of these simple azure bluette flowers, as well as some small topiaries and lots of lush grass and bushes. I've placed in a few extra pot plants down here, bringing in the colours from the build, and I've created a little seating area right in front of my boot. Some other details you'll notice are some custom scarecrows in my wheat fields. I've gone with a natural shape for all of these fields, and I've got them dotted around the build, providing a sort of frame for the boot itself. And I've used some of these spruce fences to frame the pathways and just guide you through the garden. All of the materials I've used decorating the outside can be found in the build itself, and that makes everything feel much more cohesive. Taking a step back, another technique you can use to frame a build is by planting some trees around it, and that works especially well in an area where you've got more than one build and you want to provide some visual separation between each of them. And for one more storytelling detail for this fairy tale style house, since this boot is inspired by the classic tale from Mother Goose of the woman who lived in a shoe, I've brought in a whole load of baby villagers. Now in Creative, a great technique you can use to keep these villagers from running all over the place and getting lost is to grab some barrier blocks. And to do this, all you have to do is type /Minecraft, give, then your name, so in my case I'm a wild one, and then Minecraft, barrier. And that'll give you this invisible block, and you can see that I've built up these little fences around my groups of baby villagers, so that way they don't go running off and get lost in the forest. Then when I let go of the block, it disappears completely. So now you have a charming fairy tale style house. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon to support me further. I'll see you in another video.